Hey everybody, this is me, Undead Viking. As many of you, if you've watched these videos of mine, know that I am in my early 40s, and I am definitely a youngster and a product of, well, the late 80s and early 90s were kind of like the beginning and the burgeoning moment of my true gaming world. And I'm not talking about board games or role-playing games right now. I'm talking about like playing arcade games and playing video games and whatever. And I am a product of that era when the games that we played and the games that we loved were like the Civilization games. They were the like Space 4X games, things like that. And those are the types of games that I always loved to play. I still play on my computer. I still play Masters of Orion 2 on my computer a lot. You know, not Masters of Orion 3. That game doesn't exist. That never happened. But you know, games of that genre that I just thoroughly enjoyed. And there have been many games that have come out, especially in the last few years, that have tried to take that Space 4X theme and they've implanted it into games, and many of them are great. I mean, some of my favorite games, if I ever did a top whatever games of my life or whatever, board games, in there would have to exist Space Empires 4X, Eclipse, obviously, Twilight Imperium, obviously, gosh, I'm gonna blank on the name. I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna look down here. Yes, Exodus, Proxima Centauri, games of that type that I just love, and they're games that my game group loves, and we'll bust them out at literally like a moment's notice, knowing full well that we're sitting down to play an epically long game, but we just want to play it and love it and have a blast with it. And I am happy to be able to share with you at this moment my review of another game that is going to be of that type. And it is this game right here. This is Space Frontiers. You notice it's even my special only like little prototype review copy thing that they sent me, which is pretty awesome. This game was designed by Aaron Dona and John Matheson, and it is a Kickstarter that is going on right now. And I always, when a designer says that they're going to make a game of this genre, I always, not worry for them, but I always keep my eyes out and I say, what are you going to do differently? You know, what are you gonna give to me at this point that that I can't replicate in another game? And after reading the rules and reading everything that's going on, I don't know what it was about the game until I played it, and I'll explain that when I do my conclusion here in just a moment here. But I didn't know exactly what about it, like, kind of piqued my interest. But I remember, like, well, first of all, it piqued my interest, obviously, because it's a space, you know, exploration, fighting, colonizing planets game type of thing. But but there was something about the rules that just kind of grabbed me, and I was really excited to get a look at it and get a play of it. And I have now with my game group, and the game is an absolute blast. It's got one of those, like, involved but intuitive rule sets, if you know what I mean. It's like there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of things that you can do when you take your turn in the game, but you never feel like you have to go back to the rule book over and over again to try to, like, wait a minute, how does this work then? What do I add to this? What do I change about that? You know, it is fiddly, but it isn't. It is, you know, and that's really tough to explain either. But I mean, it has a lot of moving parts, but the moving parts seem to just kind of flow together and work really well as far as, like, the theme goes and as far as the gameplay goes. And there's all kinds of stuff like that about the game that I really latched onto, and I really enjoyed when I played it. And I'm going to go further into that, like, with my conclusion. So, and I'm kind of busting into my conclusion now with the words I'm saying. But let me show you how to play the game. Like I said, it's you know, pretty interesting, and it shouldn't take me too long, which is kind of cool that a game of this magnitude, technically, is going to be explained that easily. But excuse me. But let me show you exactly how the game is played, and then we'll go ahead and I'll tell you exactly why I dig this game and why I can't wait for it to be published and for me to get my own copy. All right, cool. Okay, this is the stuff you get with Space Frontier. So let me just show you some things real quick here. This is, everybody gets one of these boards. This is the nerve center. This is your, like, command ship that you will pilot around. That is represented by this, like, figure. That's your command ship, and it moves around space. Your command ship is able to pretty much do everything that you need it to do. It builds ships that you can see the different types of ships you can build up here. The cost up here tells you what type of, how many and what type of these resources you have to spend. I'm sorry, those are resources. This is a research token. I'll show that to you in just a second. And then also it tells you what those ships can do. But we'll talk about that when we get to combat. So you can see, like, the big guy here costs 2, 2, and 3. And so when you build something, you will use your hangar bay. You place that in. Notice how the big ship takes up 2 spots, and like the smaller ship takes up 1 spot. And then also when you can also launch a fleet from your ship into an area, and then, like, you will place your ships in the fleet, and they'll go. You know, if you can't place them back here. If there's only 1 ship in the fleet, you just put it in that spot. And actually, and I'll mention this again during combat, but having the ship in A or whatever, that is the ship that actually will be doing the point defense. They're the ones that, like, so when you can see that says defense, like which dice roll for defense, and like also like also if it has any shields, like there. So depending on then if that fleet gets attacked, that's your point of defense for the fleet. This track right here, the engineering bay, that's when you start with one of these cubes, but as you find ancient relics, you'll slowly get more cubes, and as soon as you get to there, you get to draw a relic technology card that will have a special ability. Like this one has nuclear bombardment when attacking an orbital defense, planetary defenses, or command ships. This fleet adds +1 automatic hit to their firepower that cannot be defended against. And then, like, you actually, like, do that like that, and you can only have one of these per fleet. So this fleet would have that ability, and so then the card's double-sided, so you can also put it down there, and you can read it still as well. Notice how it is worth an influence point too. So if you actually have that card, it's worth a point, because this whole game is about trying to get to 12 points. But I'll explain that when I explain how the game is won. Down here is just the different cargo bays. You place your 3 different types of resources: blue, purple, and fuel, ore, and crystals. And you place those in those locations. You can only have 10 total things in your cargo bay. So you could have 10 crystals. You could have 4 crystals, 3 fuel, and 3 ore. So, I mean, but you can't have, like, 10 of each. It's like, we screwed that up the first time we played. But, so 10 total down here of any combination of this. So, alright, and that is your command ship and the little thing that you have. It could happen that your command ship gets blown out from underneath you. You have this card to represent. This is the blue one, but it tells you what, you know, it has firepower, and also, like, how many hit points, how many shields it has, and whatever. And so then, you know, 2 action points. And you can build a mining post with it. But you can. If this gets destroyed, you actually have to hand this to the person that destroyed it, and they actually, you can see it's worth a point. And it should be noted that if one person actually manages, like, if all of them, like, are collected, all these cards are collected by one person, that signifies the end of the game. It doesn't mean they automatically win, but the game goes into end mode, and you see who's got the most points. So that is that particular the command center, the command ship card that everybody has. Now there's a lot of other stuff out here, but obviously you're probably looking at this. This is where you're going to start the game, and this is the warp tile. The idea behind this game is that basically all you and your people you're playing against have warped into this area of space with your command ships, and you now are going to explore space, and you are going to find different sectors of space that you're going to then use to plumb for resources and what have you. you can see up here, I should mention, there's a mission card up here, and these mission cards actually, as you're exploring space, you're going to try to satisfy those mission cards, and if you can collect them, and they're worth points as well. So, like this particular, it's like a request, hauling rock, turn in 7 ore at the warp gate, and if you do that, you get a point. And like this one, inspire competition, completely destroy an enemy fleet or orbital defense fleet. And you can see it's worth 1. And also you'll notice that they have a reward of an artifact as well that you can use to earn to get towards getting to your relic technology. And if anybody ever earns one of these, you just draw another mission card, and so there's always 2 available at any time. And so that's your goal. Now, there's lots of different tiles here, but I'm just going to show you. I did take some of the tiles out, and I'm going to kind of cut away, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to show you kind of a more filled out area, if you will. First of all, I want to point out on these, you can see there's these little spots here. When you connect these, you have to make sure that you are connecting these spots. You can't ever you can't be like this. So you have to actually, actually fill it out so those you make that little cube that you can see right there in the center. So, like things like this is a crystal, obviously, green. If you have a fleet next to this, you can take its action point to mine a crystal off of that. The same goes for this. These are asteroids that you can mine ore from. This is a wormhole. If there are more than one wormhole period, you can pop into this, and you can show up at any other wormhole shown. And this is the fuel gas that you can mine that for gas. And this is an ancient technology location. And what this is that when this gets drawn, you'll put 3 cubes, 3 of these yellow cubes that you see here, and you place that on there. And then if you pull up there, you can take a cube off, and then you can add that to your list. And so this is kind of like as soon as one of these pops up, usually people try to race over and grab these if they can. If there are no cubes on it, what you can do at that point is you can have a fleet come over and excavate there. And when you excavate, it'll create a cube that you'll place on the top of it. But fleets only have 1 action point. And so they'll excavate it, but then you'll have to make sure that maybe you have another fleet nearby that can come over and grab that. Otherwise, somebody else on their turn can come over and take that without without asking. How rude. So, there's a couple other things here. There is the space station. There is one huge space station, and I will go more into depth about the space station. Once that is revealed, you can go there and you can hire different people, different mercenaries, other people that will do certain jobs for you. You can also repair your ships at the space station, and it should be noted that you can repair ships at your command thing as well. And here is a planet. Okay, finally there's only, depending on the number of players, even with 4 players, there's only 5 planets that are going to show up. And so what you do is you can see there's number 28. So you can grab the planet with the number, like so. It really doesn't matter. It's just, this is just so if you colonize the planet, you can take this because it's worth 1 influence point, and if you put an orbital defense thing on it, it's worth 2 points, and so you can use that to gain. But you can see that there is like this spot here is important because that's a trade marker, and I'll show that to you in just a second. But as you can see, you have to actually defeat it to take it out. And so, but once you do that, you've defeated it, and you can either you defeat it by force, by bringing your fleet in here and doing combat with it and destroying it, or you can bribe it. You can just give it 10 resources. If you have a full, command pods, you can just give it 10 resources, and then you get those. And then after you've built it, you can build an orbital defense platform on it as well to give it even more defense. And so if somebody else decides they're going to come over and take your planet away from you, if you build that on there, then they wouldn't be able to take it as easily as they might have earlier been able to. So those are the planets. Now, I mentioned these, so I'm going to show you that real quick. These locations, you can see there's a money sign on there. Obviously, money, money, money. Anyway, so you can see these also have a money sign on them. So when you have these locations, you can turn one of these over and you place it on. And what this is a trade agreement. And you can see that they are willing to trade 3 yellow cubes
and you'll get these cubes in return. And so not only do you get something in return that you might want to use to build fleets or whatever, but you can also see there's a symbol down here. And that is like the trade corporation that you're trading with. And so when you satisfy this, you keep this token. And then you immediately draw another one for that location, which, you know, in this case would be, you trade in 1 green, you get, you know, 2 purple. And so, and different trade agreement. But the more of these that you get from the same trade corporation, the more points, the more influence they're worth as it goes. So you'll be wanting to try to find these planets, find these locations that have that on there, and then you can collect those, and then they're worth points and influence, so you can try to win the game. There's one other kind, and I need to find one, I apologize, that doesn't have a symbol on it, doesn't have a trade corporation symbol on it. And that is this one. This is a shady deal, and this wouldn't be worth, if you made the trade, this wouldn't be worth anything with the trade corporation down here. But the one nice thing about this is that you can trade either way, and you can also use both of them. So like, you could come here, I'm going to trade in a purple and a green for yellow, and then I'm going to trade in that green, and I'm going to get 2 purple. So like, you can see how you can go either way with that trade. So that is how those work. Alright, so you have this board. This is like the very beginning of it, and one of the basic things you'll always be doing is you'll be taking, you can move obviously, but obviously one of the actions that you always take, or you're going to be taking a lot of, especially at the beginning of the game, is you're going to be pulling tiles off of there, and then when you do, like you're saying, I'm going to move, I'm going to explore this tile over here, and you draw one off the top. And then this one, as you can see, it's a big fuel location. And then you just attach it. And if you play games like this, you're probably well familiar with how this works. Remember, you got to make sure you attach the little spots in the middle, and like so. And then you can then move into the location. One of the things that you have to do when you move into any new location, however, is that you have to roll a die, because there is a chance you'll either run into some space pirates, or maybe you'll just get some some resources when you enter the location, and you roll a die. The one you want to watch out for, or theoretically watch out for, is pirates, and that's rolling a 1, which of course I just did. So if that happens, you immediately get attacked by pirates, and I'm not going to show you combat, but you draw a pirate, and you have a thing, and like a card here, and then it tells you that what their firepower is, and all the pirates are basically the same. But the big thing is that you can bribe them. You can just give them a resource, and then they'll go away. But you can see that on here is that as they get resources, they can hold up to 5 resources. And as they gain resources, they get +1 missile hit for every resource on this card, +1 hull point for every resource they have on this card. So as you give them resources, yes, they leave you alone, but they're just going to get more and more powerful. And once they have 5 resources on them, they won't take a bribe anymore. They will attack you regardless. So you can either fight them, and if you manage to destroy them, you get to keep the card, and as you can see, it is worth a point if you can manage to destroy them. But as you can see, obviously I rolled a 1, and so that was like, you know, it just makes sense that I would roll a 1. Dice hate me. But anyway, so the other options that when you roll the die, for like 2 through 6, or if you roll a 2, it's just like, it's space debris, there's nothing there, you don't get anything. On a 3, you get an ore. On a 4, you get fuel. On a 5, you get a crystal. And on a 6, if you're lucky enough to roll a 6, you get an artifact. That's just something free you get whenever you enter a brand new sector. And that actually encourages people, obviously, to explore and check out different areas of the world. And as you play, and then so like you'll go in there, and obviously like you can take an action if you wanted to you know, get fuel from that location. Now, as you're moving through these sectors, it should be noted that you can move through these spots that actually have something in them, but you cannot stay there. You cannot end up in that location. And I didn't actually show you one tile, and I'm going to try to find one here for you. And like I said, I'm going to show you like a larger like map here in just a second. But there's actually tiles that actually have asteroid fields, and oh, there's one. And so here you have a very interesting thing. You have an artifact in the middle, but you have this asteroid field around the edge. And for these, it actually takes 2 movement points to move through there instead of the normal 1. And so you have a situation where it is obviously more difficult to get to this artifact that's in the middle. And also, you can't stay in an asteroid field. You have to make sure you leave it. So this is definitely a tile where you're going to be coming in, grabbing a resource, and then leaving, because you don't want to, you can't stay in that location. But, alright, so it's going to be tough for me to show you exactly all the different actions and things that you can do with a map that's this small. So I'm going to pause here just for a moment. I'm going to build out the map, and then I will show you some of the larger actions and things you can do and show you some combat. Alright, let's do that. Okay, I've gone ahead and obviously just set up a map, and this, not always is it going to be like nice and kind of uniform like that. I mean, obviously it gets built as the players play the game and how they change. And this would be, probably close to, well, maybe like 2/3 of the way through the game. I wouldn't know, I didn't play it out to this point, but the games I've played, it's been pretty close to where somebody's getting close to that magical number where they think they're going to have a shot at either declaring victory or they're going to hit 12 points and they're going to win and just have a victory. But as you can see, we have planets, and like green's taken over this planet over here, and you can see like the only player that like currently in this scenario that I've just kind of made up that has more than one planet would be green. They have 2. Yellow has this one, but obviously they're kind of like under siege from red over there. Red's got a planet, blue's got a planet over here. They've kind of diversified as well. You can see also like red has set up a mining industry over here. Blue's set up a mining industry there. The space station's right over there. And this is just like a hypothetical situation at this point in the different lures. So you can see there is one wormhole where, quick little movement and so on and so forth. Now, well, whatever player's turn is, there are 4 steps during a turn. And like the first thing is you launch ships. And if you have ships waiting to be launched out of the hangar bay of your command ship, you can launch those out like wherever your command ship is. Any open sector of space, like here's a command ship, you could launch them into that space. The command ship over here, launch them into that space. You'd have to have those ships constructed though to be able to do that. If you have planets, you can also launch your ships from a planet as well. You can launch a fleet from there. And it's important to note that like these represent large fleets of ships. They could be like up to 4, different ships. It could be 1 big ship, 2 small ships, so on and so forth. And you launch those, and that's like as a group, they move around the table. And like after you've like launched ships, then you start activating your fleets. So if you that includes the ones that you just launched, and so like you would activate this fleet and you would do their actions, and activate the next fleet, do their actions, activate the next. You can't activate a fleet, do part of their turn, then activate another. As soon as you activate another fleet, that fleet is done. And I'll go more into what fleets can do in just a second. After you activate fleets, you're going to do research. And that is if the active player, the first player's turn it is, if they have 4 of those artifact cubes, which are these guys right here. If you have 4 of those because you've collected them at different locations, traded them in resource places and things like that, you can then trade those in and you can draw a card off of the relic technology deck that's over here. Finally, then you have construction, and that's when you actually start spending your cubes and spending your resources to build ships. And you do that, you build those ships, and you go ahead and you pay that, and then each person has the option of doing that. And the reason why you allow everybody the option to build those ships and whatever is so like one person can't build ships and have the an advantage. Like oh, okay, I got to build my ships, and now so like I'm the only one who got to actually strengthen my navy at this point. And so then you can do that, and then also then you can react to what other people do as the turn progresses. So if you see somebody's building some big war machine, you can follow suit if you have the resources and things like that. So now at any time during a turn, players can trade with the active player if they have a fleet adjacent to a fleet controlled by them, or if the active player has a fleet adjacent to the space station. And trades are just how you'd think. You know, it's just like they're free, they're open, and you get to be able to like discuss, you know, well, I'll give you this if you give me that. And, you know, that's part of that whole negotiation aspect of the game that actually adds a lot to it. Because in this game, you'll be making alliances with other players. You'll be saying, don't attack me, I want to attack you, let's gang up on that guy, that sort of thing. So, I explained the different locations on the map, but like having a fleet next to one of these spots is the way that you activate them and use them, get the resources or get the ancient relics. You have a spot next to it. The other way you can do it is by setting up a permanent mining location. You only have one of these, and as each turn, you do each turn, you will automatically just place a resource of the resource type on that particular location. And once it has 3, and you would get another one, you would immediately take those 3 off of it, and you get to place that in your command, in your cargo bay of your command ship, and then it just goes back to where it is. Other players can come and they can raid it, they can attack it and remove it, and also destroy it as well. And also you can send your own ships over there to collect those earlier, if you so desire. But that's a way that you can just kind of set up something to be building for you, and then, like, you know, keep it close, you know, maybe guard it a little bit, keep your eye on it, but then you don't have to actually then have a fleet just parked next to, say, ore or fuel or whatever, and you'll be able to actually be able to constantly you get that with your every turn. Now, as far as what a fleet can do beyond just moving around and collecting resources and attacking other people, fleets have access to a lot of different options, and one of the things that they can do is they can warp. Now, normally a fleet can go they have 3 movement and they have 1 action point. And so you just move 3, you know, You can move, do your action, like you could like move here, collect a resource, and then move your next 2, and so on and so forth. If you want to, however, you can use that action point to give yourself 5 extra movement, so you can get your fleet going faster and get it to someplace else. You can't use, it's weird. One of the weird things is you can't move your 3 and then use the action point to use warp. If you're out of movement points and then you use your warp, it won't work. So you have to actually like move 2, use your action, and then you can move those extra 5. And that costs a fuel resource if you want to use the warp ability to do so. You can, if your ship is injured due to combat, you can spend an action point and spend up to 2 ore to repair 1 hull damage for every ore that you have. You can also do that with the command ship that actually heals. The command ship can actually heal, repair ships and repair itself at a better rate, though. You can also, if you're next to your command ship, you can dock your fleet with the command ship if there's space in the hangar, and so you can put those ships on there and maybe create a bigger and better fleet on your next turn. You can launch it out. And so you can mix and match, if you will. And gathering and excavating I've explained, but of course now we finally get to probably like what the thing that everybody's going to enjoy the most is you're going to be able to roll dice. It's because you're going to be in combat. So combat is pretty straightforward. You just take an action. You say I'm going to. You get next to somebody else's fleet. You know, like these 2 fleets right here. They meet somewhere, and you move to that spot, and you say I'm going to attack you. And so that's when you pull out these, as I showed at the beginning, like these different ships. And it shows their firepower, what their weapons are. It shows what their defense is, and and as far as their hulls and how many hit points they have, and so on and so forth. And so then you will do battle. Combat is quick and dirty. It is a slugfest, basically. So whoever's attacking, they get to roll their dice first. So let's, for example, say that somebody's attacking another fleet, and they have one of these little tiny ships, like a fighter. They have this, and they have a destroyer, and they have this big battleship. And so you add up all the dice that you're going to be attacking with. So 2 blue, so that'd be 3 blue and 2 red, and then we go 4 blue, 3 red, and 3 green. Now, those 3 different types of weapons are different. These 2 are blasters. Blasters hit on a 4 through 6 when you roll the dice, but on a 6, it's like a direct hit, which meaning that the shields won't help anything if they it's kind of like a critical hit. The middle one, the red attack die, is a missile, and that succeeds on a 3 through 6. No other special rules are involved as far as that's concerned. And the green over here is the green 3 is a particle beam. And so, and with the particle beams, or particle cannon I should say, they succeed on a 2 through 6. So we have 4, 3, and 3. So what will happen is we will take 4 blue, we'll take 3, we'll take 3. We take these dice and we're going to roll them all together at once. So it's like, and this is the attacker goes first. And so we look, we didn't roll any 6s, and actually we got no hits with our blasters. We didn't roll a 4 through 6 for them. We did get 2 hits with the missiles, and we got 2 hits with the particle cannon. So we would count them up and we'd have 5 hits. So we'll say that the defender, let's just say they had 2 of these destroyers. That's all they had. So we have 5 hits on these 2 destroyers, and they have 1 shield, but they also have the defense of a blue die. So whichever is the like, they get to roll the one ship that's on. Remember, it would be like, so if that was the point defense, like so, then that is their 1 defense is a blue die. And so the blue defense succeeds on a 4 through 6. So we can try to reduce the damage down to 4 with this roll on a 4 through 6. And we didn't. We got a 2. So all 5 are considered to be hits. So after we've gone ahead and we do the other fleet, then the defenders get to fight back. So we know the defenders have these 2. So they have 2 blue dice and 4 red dice. So we can always hope we get some luck here. So 4 red dice and 2 blue dice. Remember, if we roll 6s with the blue dice, it'll go through shields. So we didn't get very lucky. A lot of 1s, so that stinks. But we got 2 hits as the defender. So, and the yellow point defense is one of these guys. Like the little ships, they'd go like right there. And so they get to defend with a green die and a, like, basically dodging and evading. And dodging succeeds on a 3 through 6, and the blue, as I said, on a 4 through 6. So we got 2 successful hits. We'll roll, so maybe they'll get lucky. And they do. They manage to evade both of the damage rolls that were made, and so no damage cubes are going to be associated with the yellow fleet. So the red fleet has 2 of these guys, and they have a shield and 3 defense. So they got 5 successful hits. So what's going to happen is that this guy, one of these guys, the first one, because you always attack the first one, he's going to have 1 shield eat up 1 of the damage, so that takes it down to 4, and he can take up 3 points of damage. And so what you do then is you assign the damage by assigning these little orange cubes, like so. So there'd be 3 of those on there, meaning that he's taken 3 points of damage, which isn't going to be enough to destroy him, but that's all he can take. The second destroyer that we have is there, and he would take damage, and he would take the remaining 1 point of damage. But remember, he's got a shield, and so that shield absorbs 1 hit, so he doesn't take any damage. But this one does take 3 damage. We will destroy that ship, and that one will become the leader of that fleet. And that's, I mean, combat is brutal, and it's quick, and it's fast, but it's also very, very quick. Now, there's one other wrinkle, is that whoever got the most combat successes, meaning the amount of damage done in comparison, the number of hits that were rolled in comparison to defenses, is the winner of the combat. And the other one has to retreat, and they get 2 free moves to move and retreat away from the attacker. If you can't move, every ship that can't move automatically takes 1 point of damage that they can't defend against. So that can kind of actually further destroy it. And it is, though unlikely, possible that that you will have a situation where like successes or whatever, like the victor of the combat may actually have taken more damage, or maybe we're actually in worse shape than the combat, but they're still forcing the other one to flee. Very unlikely, but it is mathematically possible. So, I mean, other than that, this game progresses like you see. You keep adding, you add tiles as you investigate them, and you explore them, and you use them, and you plumb the resources. And the whole goal is to get to either 8 points or more, 8 influence points or more, and then you declare yourself like the emperor. And basically, if you can maintain, and you have to be ahead of everybody else. If you can maintain that lead, by the time it gets back to your turn, you win the game, or you get to 12 points, and then whoever gets 12 points just automatically wins at that point. I mean, the way you get points, obviously, is by getting relic technologies, it's by taking over planets, it's by holding on to your command crest, your command ship. It's for completing these missions. It's for completing those the trade missions or whatever, you know, with the different trade groups, because 1 through 3 is worth 1 point if you have through one trade group, and then another trade group 4 through 6 is worth 2 points, and so on and so forth. And so you go along that path, you expand, you destroy, you attack each other, you work, you negotiate, and you have a blast along the entire way, and then eventually you win. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the space station. There's one cool thing about the space station over here. The space station gets to be used as kind of like a jack of all trades. If you have a fleet next to the space station, you can then use it for one of 4 things. Well, technically 5 things. Because I mentioned before, you can trade. At any time during a turn, players may trade with the active player if that player has a fleet adjacent to the space station. So that's what it can be used for kind of universally. But you can use one action and use an artifact, use one of these yellow cubes, and you can go to the space station, you can hire a specialist, and like you can hire a merchant. That means you can perform and collect a trade on any revealed market shard. So like any of the shards that would be, I should have put some out there actually, I apologize for that. But like if there's a market shard out here on one of these planets that you want to use, you can use the space station to just do that automatically. You can use it to hire mercenaries. You choose any fleet that is not a command ship, and you can hire a pirate, and you can send them to go and attack that fleet for you. And you can hire engineers that allow you to heal up to 3 hull damage, split as desired among itself, to like fleets adjacent to it and fleets adjacent to the space station, to heal up if you want to. And that's like obviously you can heal a lot faster if you manage to get your ships over there. You remember that combat where like if like this one had taken a point of damage, like it stays with you. It doesn't like a lot of games that I know I've played that heals automatically. You just don't have that capability. So you have to like either spend time go to like being by your command ship, or go to the space station, or do it on your own, and then you can heal that up in that way. So, alright, sorry about that. I totally forgot about the space station there for a second. But there you go. I mean, that's a real rough overview of how the game has progressed. There's no set time limit. There's no set turn limit. You just keep playing and playing and playing, and until one person reaches that mythical point total and manages to win the game. So, alright, well, let me tell you exactly why I dig this game so much.
Alright, cool. There we go. So, the thing about games like this is that people always kind of get a little bit hung up on the idea of, well, where's the cool minis, where's the awesome miniatures, or whatever. And this is one of those games that, yeah, I guess technically, and I don't know, I think there is stretch goals in the Kickstarter that will actually allow miniatures to be made, and maybe it's something down the line they would do with an expansion. But this game it doesn't need it, you know? I mean, it's kind of like Space Empires 4X, like a game that I've been meaning to review for 1,000 years now, it seems like. But Space Empires, it's like, that's chits. It doesn't have cool-looking chrome. And this is a game without the cool-looking chrome. But it is engaging, and it feels epic when you play it, and it has everything that I want. And whether or not I have this for my command ship, or if I have a miniature that I place on the hex. There's a ton of reasons why I dig this game, but but like I just mentioned it a few seconds ago when I said the game feels epic, and that's kind of like the best part of the game for me. I love the fact that this is a situation where literally like everybody's warped into. I kind of liken this a little bit to oh, I can't think of the computer game now. But basically, it was the same type of thing. Everybody kind of started in the same area, and you just slowly expanded out. You know, this isn't a game where you start with a home planet, and then you just start moving out and everything. Everybody's kind of like escaped this point of space. And now you are trying to establish yourself in that spot. You have this big command ship that like can support you and you can fly around in. But you know what you need obviously is you want to find one of those 5 planets that are there, and you want to colonize that planet, so you have a foothold for your society, your race, or whatever. And the thing is that this game has a little bit of an abstractness to it, because this isn't a situation where it's like you have a race or anything like that. I mean, for you're all humans exploring or whatever. There is nothing special. And maybe theoretically, and I'm assuming at this point, but the designers' heads, they have an idea of expanding upon the basic theme in the future. But as it is right now, everybody starts out at the same foothold, and you're all kind of just doing a race, doing a land grab, basically, at the very beginning. And you're trying to, you're moving out and away from each other, because, like, right away, you're, like, really vulnerable. I mean, you don't want to have, you can get your fleets out and whatever, but it's one of those things where you get out there, you get your command ship, and you're using that command ship to go in and investigate things and try to find things out. And then later on, then once you kind of get like a little base of operations, maybe you're near a few resources that you can mine or whatever, then you start sending your fleets out, and you sending your fleets out to explore even further. And then as you find like different areas that you want, then you can move your mining complex over to that location, or you can start putting your finding that planet, so then taking that over, and so then you can be, there, that's your spot now, and that's the spot you're guarding. And then now you can kind of like, losing your command ship still would suck, but now you're not so fragile. You don't have that one little spot that you need to to take care of. Now you have these 2 things, and so then you move forward. Maybe you can even get a second planet, though. In my case, when we've played and somebody's got a second planet, usually that's the moment where everybody else says we got to get that guy, and they hang up on you. But so, and that's kind of like the added extra point to any of these games, is that because everybody is kind of quasi doing the same thing, there's outright agreements, as far as like treaties and whatever, and then there's just outright like declarations of war as well. But there's no rules governing it. I mean, it's very not to use the term loosey-goosey, but it's, people can be flippant, and you are only as strong as your neighbors allow you to be. There's that kind of aspect to the game, which is highly enjoyable, because there can only be one winner. And so even though you're going to be working together theoretically for a good period of time, eventually what happens is that any truce will eventually have to be broken in the spirit of wanting to win. Which kind of leads me to the point that I really like the way that the game handles winning. Yes, if you get to 12 points, you just win the game outright. But you have a situation where if you have 8, and as I explained, and you feel like you can hold on to that lead, you can declare yourself. You can say, I declare myself, I'm going to win this game if I can get back to my next turn, and, so you guys can try to stop me. And then that's, if people haven't recognized the fact that you're getting too powerful at that point, that's, the flag that gets raised and says, okay, and everybody just converges upon your stuff to try to take it. I mean, there's so much about the game that, everything works really well. The combat system is fast and fluid. You don't get bogged down playing it. The one thing I really dig about it is that this actually felt like I was exploring. You know, and that might not make a lot of sense, but it was one of those things where as I was playing the game, you know, when you play games like, and I'm not trashing on these other games and I mentioned them, but you play a game like Eclipse or you play a game like Exodus, and you know, the space is really rather full, you know, if you will, and so, you know, it always kind of felt like, you know, like when you were going out to explore, it was like you weren't really exploring. You're just like, okay, what cool planet am I going to get when I turn this tile over? But that isn't the case with this game. I mean, there's tiles that just have a bunch of a bunch of asteroids that just block your way. You know, there's tiles that, you know, just have like one singular place where you can mine some resources, and so you feel like you actually kind of feel alone. And then, like, of course, there's spots that are just flat out blank, you know, and so you kind of feel like once the game actually gets, you're playing a 4-player game, you know, and once the game kind of expands out and you start like getting down to the last few tiles, you'll stop and you'll look at the board and you'll say, holy cow, I mean, this actually feels expansive because of all the, like, basically the empty space that there is in space, and I really enjoy that because, you know, I don't mind combat. I think that's great and everything like that, and I think games, you know, other games have done really good job with like spurring people to like feel like combat is actually important. But in this game, you know, combat doesn't ever have to happen between players. It technically doesn't ever have to happen with pirates either or anything like that, but or planets, but you could theoretically play a game without anybody ever fighting. Eventually, you're going to fight, though. Let's just be honest. This is space. We want to shoot lasers and rockets at each other. But theoretically, you could play the game without combat. And there's nothing like in an Eclipse where you get points for it. You don't get anything really for taking somebody out, unless you can get if you destroy them, you can get like their technology, you know, from their technology card. But that's really like the only thing you really can get. I mean, ultimately, what usually happens is that, you know, to knock somebody down, you have to go and take their stuff, so they have less points. I mean, that's usually what you have to do. But, you know, it's one of those things where I never felt pressured to have to fight. And I always felt like there was someplace else I could go. I always felt like I could go and I could explore. Okay, yeah, you want to make these giant, you know, fleets or whatever, fine, whatever. I'm just going to leave. You know, and I can go off and I can do my own thing. And you know, I can expand my horizons by going and looking further into the deck. So, I mean, I liked that aspect a lot about it. I mean, everything about, as far as like just the rules, flat out the rules, is excellent. I enjoy it. They're, like I said in my introduction, there's a lot to it, but they're very intuitive, and it's very understandable. I'm sure that like the only thing that I wished I had, you know, with this prototype is that I wish I'd had like a player aid that showed like all the rules or everything like that, because, you know, obviously with my printed off copy of the rules, like we were handing that around a lot and trying to, what can I do in my turn? Oh, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you know, those sorts of things. But, you know, other than that, I mean, it's just like, it's a point race, but a point race based in an awesome futuristic world, filled with danger and excitement and thrills and chills. You know, you know what I mean. And if you're a fan of that 4X type of game, I really think this is a must-buy. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, is it different from this? How is it different from that? Or whatever. You know, for some of them, it's pretty obvious. For differences like with Twilight Imperium has a lot more chrome to it, and a lot more, and this is kind of very stripped down in comparison. But this game also plays a ton faster. And I can say the same thing in comparison to Eclipse. Eclipse is kind of like a spreadsheet game in space, in a little bit. You know, with everything going on, all those things. I love the game, mind you. It's still one of my top games of all time. But this is, once again, like a stripped-down version of some of the aspects that you find in Eclipse. Comparison with Exodus. Exodus, let's face it. When I want to blow up planets and I want to shoot down my friends, I play Exodus, and I love Exodus for that purpose. And when I want to play a really deeply engrossing 2-player game with my buddy Derek, I play Space 4X. Space Frontier is its own thing. Like I said, I feel like I'm exploring space. I feel like I'm starting a new, society, if you will. I mean, and I feel like I'm in direct competition with everybody else to do the same thing. It's an amazing game. It's a fun game. I highly recommend that if you are a fan of those preceding games that I mentioned, you take a look at this sucker, and I'm pretty sure you'll be intrigued by it, you'll be excited by it, and you'll want a copy for yourself. So, alright, well, that was me, Undead Viking, telling you all about Space Frontier. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those to the best of my ability. And, yeah, until next time, you have yourself one awesome day. Alright, bye-bye now.